Welcome to a momentous update in the world of professional tennis. We are witnessing a seismic shift on the WTA Tour, a storyline that almost no one in the mainstream sporting press predicted, yet has materialized right before our very eyes. The landscape of women's tennis has been completely altered this season, and at the absolute center of this transformation is a changing the guard that demands our complete attention. Today, we are breaking down a monumental milestone that has sent shockwaves from the historic lawns of Europe all the way to the archipelagos of Southeast Asia. Alexandra Eala, the 21-year-old phenom from the Philippines, has officially surged past the British superstar and former U.S. Open champion Emma Raducanu in the global tennis rankings. Let that sink in for a moment. Nobody saw this coming. Or perhaps nobody was looking in the right direction. For the last 5 years, Emma Raducanu has been the undeniable golden girl of the tennis media, ever since her miraculous, unprecedented run at the 2021 U.S. Open, where she captured a Grand Slam title as a teenager coming straight through the qualifying rounds without dropping a single set. Raducanu has commanded the spotlight. She has been the focus of million-dollar endorsement deals, endless tabloid headlines, and the heavy, suffocating expectations of the British sporting public. She was heralded as the future of the sport, the player who would define the next decade of women's tennis. And while the cameras, the analysts, and the casual fans were completely fixated on Raducanu's every move, her coaching changes, her injury rehabilitations, and her tournament scheduling, something remarkable was quietly brewing in the background. Far away from the blinding flashbulbs of Fleet Street, a young left-hander from the Philippines was embarking on a vastly different journey. Alex Eala was grinding her way through the grueling, unglamorous trenches of the ITF circuit. She was meticulously building her game, her physique, and her mental fortitude at the Rafa Nadal Academy in Mallorca, Spain. She was enduring the slow, arduous, and often heartbreaking climb up the professional ladder. And now, as the 2026 grass court swing reaches its fever pitch, the paths of these two young women have not just crossed, they have fundamentally inverted. In the latest world rankings, following an absolutely breathtaking and historic run of form, Alex Eala has catapulted into the top 30 of the world, sitting proudly ahead of Emma Raducanu. This is not just a story about numbers on a computer screen. This is a profound narrative about two diametrically opposed trajectories colliding in the upper echelons of elite sports. It is a story about the heavy burden of sudden, explosive stardom versus the quiet, relentless power of incremental progress. To truly understand the magnitude of this moment, we have to look at exactly what Alex Eala has accomplished over the past few weeks. Coming into the month of June, Eala was already a player on the rise, hovering on the fringes of the elite. But the grass court season is where she has truly announced herself as a dominant, world-class threat. Grass is a surface that exposes flaws, punishes hesitation, and demands absolute technical precision. Many assumed that Eala, whose foundational years were spent sliding on the red clay of Europe, might find the slick lawns challenging. Instead, she has conquered them with an authority that has left the tennis establishment utterly speechless. It began with a spectacular campaign at the Birmingham Open, a WTA 125 event, where she simply refused to be denied, stringing together a series of brilliant performances to capture the title. That victory alone was a massive statement, securing her second WTA 125 crown. But what she did next, at the highly prestigious Berlin Tennis Open, a WTA 500 event stacked with the biggest names in the sport, was nothing short of legendary. Eala did not just participate in Berlin. She decimated some of the most formidable competitors on the planet. She dismantled the seasoned veteran Donna Vekic in straight sets. But the true masterpiece, the moment that made the entire sporting world stop and stare, was her astonishing victory over the world number 2, Elena Rybakina. Rybakina is a former Wimbledon champion, a player whose devastating serve and flat, penetrating ground strokes are tailor-made for grass. She is the ultimate measuring stick on the surface. And yet, the 21-year-old Filipina stood toe-to-toe with the Kazakh powerhouse, absorbed her pace, countered with vicious, heavy topspin from her left-handed forehand, and secured a monumental straight sets victory. But Eala was not finished. She advanced to the quarterfinals and faced world number 8 Alina Svitolina, one of the fiercest, most resilient competitors the tour has seen in the last decade. Once again, Eala showed no fear, no nerves, and no hesitation. She outworked, outhit, and outsmarted the Ukrainian star, securing another phenomenal straight sets win to book her place in the semifinals. Although her incredible run in Berlin eventually ended at the hands of the eventual champion, Linda Noskova, the damage was already done, and history had already been written. The points she amassed from this spectacular grass court surge had propelled her to a career-high ranking, cracking the top 30 and establishing her as a certified, undeniable force on the WTA Tour. And in doing so, she has leapfrogged Emma Raducanu, pushing the British star down the pecking order just days before the commencement of the Wimbledon Championships. This ranking shift is a massive wake-up call to the tennis establishment. It forces us to reevaluate how we measure potential, how we distribute our attention, and how we understand the complex journey from junior champion to professional elite. Alex Eala is no longer just a promising prospect. She is a present-day reality. She is carrying the weight of a nation that has been starved for a global tennis superstar, and she is doing it with a grace, a maturity, and a lethal competitive instinct that is completely belying her age. We are witnessing the dawn of a new era, and the fact that she has bypassed a household name like Emma Raducanu to get here makes this story one of the most compelling narratives in the history of modern tennis. To fully unpack this extraordinary development, we have to transition into a deep dive analysis of both players. We need to dissect the anatomy of Emma Raducanu's struggles to maintain her position at the top, and simultaneously, we must examine the architectural brilliance of Alex Eala's rise. Let us first look at Emma Raducanu. To understand where she is now, we must constantly refer back to the late summer of 2021. When she hoisted the U.S. Open trophy, she achieved something that defied all sporting logic. It was a fairy tale in the purest sense, but fairy tales rarely prepare you for the brutal, unforgiving reality of the morning after. Winning a Grand Slam as a teenager brings instant wealth, global fame, and aura of invincibility, but it also places an enormous target on your back. Suddenly, Emma was no longer the hunter. She was the hunted. Every single player on the WTA Tour, from seasoned veterans grinding out a living to hungry teenagers trying to make a name for themselves, stepped onto the court against Raducanu with something to prove. Beating the U.S. Open champion became a badge of honor, a career-defining scalp for players ranked 50th, 80th, or 100th in the world. Furthermore, Raducanu's body, which had not yet been hardened by years of week-in, week-out physical punishment on the main tour, began to betray her. She suffered a litany of injuries, wrist surgeries, ankle issues, back spasms, that disrupted her momentum and forced her into prolonged periods of rehabilitation. The British media, notorious for building up their heroes only to scrutinize their every flaw, analyze her every move. If she signed a sponsorship deal, she was accused of being distracted. If she changed a coach, and she has changed many, she was labeled difficult or unstable. It is an incredibly toxic environment for a young woman trying to find her footing in the most physically and mentally demanding individual sport on earth. Despite all of this, Raducanu's talent remains undeniable. Her ball striking is as clean and crisp as anyone's on tour. Her recent performance at the Queen's Club Championships, where she reached the final and secured brilliant victories, showed flashes of that 2021 brilliance. It proved that when she is healthy and confident, she can still play top-tier tennis. However, her subsequent withdrawal from the Nottingham Open highlighted the ongoing fragility of her physical state. She had to make the incredibly difficult, yet mature, decision to prioritize her bodily health ahead of Wimbledon, even though it meant sacrificing crucial ranking points. And it was exactly this opening, this mathematical vulnerability, that allowed a surging player like Alex Eala to overtake her. Raducanu's journey is a testament to the fact that success in tennis is not linear. It is a roller coaster of immense peaks and dark, challenging valleys. She currently sits just outside the top 30, still highly dangerous, still vastly capable, but no longer the undisputed prodigy of her generation. Now, let us turn our focus to the woman of the hour, Alexandra Eala. If Raducanu's rise was an overnight explosion, Eala's rise has been a masterclass in architectural construction. Eala's story begins in the Philippines, a country deeply passionate about sports, primarily basketball and boxing, but without a rich historical pedigree in producing Grand Slam singles champions in tennis. From a very young age, her potential was glaringly obvious. But potential is just a concept until it is forged in the fire of elite training. That is why her move to the Rafa Nadal Academy in Spain was a defining. Imagine growing up and honing your craft under the umbrella of Rafael Nadal, the ultimate gladiator of the sport. The academy does not just teach forehands and backhands. It teaches philosophy of suffering, resilience, and relentless determination. Eala absorbed this ethos entirely. You can see Nadal's influence in her game, not just because she is a left-hander, but in the way she constructs her points. Her forehand is a weapon of mass destruction. She generates immense, heavy topspin that kicks up high off the court, pushing her opponents deep behind the baseline and forcing short balls, which she then ruthlessly puts away. But what has truly separated Eala in 2026, and what has allowed her to dominate on grass of all surfaces, is her evolution into a complete all-court player. Historically, players with heavy topspin struggle on grass because the ball skids low and fast, neutralizing the high bounce they rely on. Eala, however, has demonstrated an incredibly high tennis IQ. She has flattened out her ground strokes when necessary. She has improved her court positioning, taking the ball earlier and robbing her opponents of recovery time. Her serve, which was once a slight liability, has been weaponized. She is hitting her spots with pinpoint accuracy, utilizing the left-hander slice serve out wide on the ad court to open up the geometry of the court perfectly. Let's go back and analyze that victory over Elena Rybakina in Berlin, because it is the blueprint of Eala's greatness. Rybakina operates with a lethal first-strike mentality. She wants short points. She wants to serve big, hit a massive return, and end a rally within 3 shots. To beat Rybakina, you have to do 2 things. You have to read her serve, and you have to extend the rallies to test her movement. Eala executed this game plan with the precision of a seasoned grandmaster. She stood her ground on the baseline, using her exceptional eye-hand coordination to block Rybakina's thunderous serve back deep into the center court, denying Kazakh any angles. Once in the rally, Eala utilized her lefty forehand to target Rybakina's forehand wing, hitting deep, penetrating shots that neutralized Rybakina's aggression. It was a tactical clinic, and the victory over Elena Svitolina in the quarterfinals was a testament to Eala's sheer physical endurance. Svitolina makes you earn every single point. She tracks down every ball. Eala was required to hit 3, 4, 5 winners in a single rally just to put the ball away, and she did it without blinking. She matched Svitolina's intensity and eventually overwhelmed her with raw, controlled power. This brings us to the psychological magnitude of what it means for Alex Eala to surpass Emma Raducanu in the rankings. In the insular ecosystem of professional tennis, rankings are the ultimate currency. They determine your livelihood, your tournament entries, your marketability, and most importantly, your seating at Grand Slam events. By breaking into the top 30, Eala has secured a highly coveted seeded position for the Wimbledon Championships. Being seeded is a massive structural advantage. It means she is guaranteed not to face any of the top 32 players in the world during the first 2 rounds of the tournament. It provides protective buffer, allowing her to settle into the tournament, find her rhythm on the grass, and conserve her physical and mental energy for the grueling second week. For Emma Raducanu, dropping behind Eala and hovering around the 32nd spot in the live rankings create a moment of genuine panic among the British tennis community. There were fears that Raducanu would lose her seeding at Wimbledon entirely, leaving her vulnerable to drawing someone like Iga Swiatek or Aryna Sabalenka in the very first round. However, due to the fortunate withdrawals of other players ranked slightly ahead of her, Raducanu has narrowly secured a seeding. But the psychological dynamic has completely flipped. Raducanu is no longer the highest-ranked young prodigy on the tour. She is looking up at a player who is 2 years younger than her, a player who has quietly and systematically built a fortress of a game, while Raducanu was battling the chaotic whirlwind of global fame. We also have to discuss the cultural impact of this ranking shift, because it extends far beyond the baselines of a tennis court. Emma Raducanu represents the established, highly funded, deeply traditional structure of British tennis. The Lawn Tennis Association commands massive resources, and British players receive wild cards, financial backing, and the inherent advantage of having a Grand Slam played in their backyard. Alex Eala represents something entirely different. She is the pride of the Philippines, a trailblazer in every sense of the word. Before Eala, no Filipina had ever won a junior Grand Slam singles title, which she accomplished at the 2022 U.S. Open. No Filipina has ever reached these heights on the professional WTA Tour. Eala is not just playing for ranking points. She is carrying the sporting aspirations of over 100 million people. Every time she steps onto the court, entire cities in the Philippines pause to watch. The pressure of that is immense. It is a different kind of pressure than what Raducanu faces, but it is equally heavy. Yet, instead of buckling under the weight of her nation's expectations, Eala seems to draw infinite power from it. Her historic rise into the top 30 confirms the consolidation of a player who has already become a monumental reference point for sports in Southeast Asia. She continues to push the boundaries of what once seemed impossible for a tennis player from her. As we look at the broader landscape of the WTA Tour, this development signifies a healthy, vibrant, and incredibly competitive era. The dominance of the top tier, players like Swiatek, Sabalenka, and Goff, is constantly being challenged by this fearless new wave. Eala has positioned herself at the absolute vanguard of this movement. Her game has no glaring weaknesses. Her mentality, forged by the brutal standards of the Rafa Nadal Academy, is unbreakable, and her hunger is palpable. When she lost the semifinal in Berlin, she didn't post excuses on social media. She posted a message of profound gratitude, expressing how she was pushed to her limits and forced to showcase what she had. That is the mindset of a champion. That is a mentality of someone who is not satisfied with being ranked 30th in the world. She is looking at the top 10, and based on what we have witnessed over the past month, it is only a matter of time before she breaches that elite territory. This brings us to the ultimate question. As we approach the hallowed grounds of Wimbledon, what happens now? The stage is set for one of the most fascinating tournaments in recent memory. We have two incredibly talented young women, linked by their generation, but separated by their distinct journeys, entering the most prestigious event in tennis. Eala arrives in London riding a wave of unprecedented momentum. She has the match play. She has the confidence of having beaten top 10 opposition on grass. And she has a historic ranking to back it up. She has a free swing in the first round as a seeded player and a golden, historic opportunity to make a deep run into the second week. Wimbledon could very well be the site of her breakthrough Grand Slam on the professional level. Former players and analysts are already circling her name in the draw, noting that her left-handed baseline aggression and vastly improved serving make her a legitimate dark horse to disrupt the entire tournament. Emma Raducanu, conversely, arrives at Wimbledon shrouded in mystery and fierce national anticipation. She has proven at Queen's Club that the magic is still there, resting dormant in her racket, waiting to be unleashed. But the physical question marks remain. Can her body withstand 2 weeks of grueling best-of-3-set matches? Can she handle the suffocating pressure of center court with the eyes of the British public bearing down on her every service toss? The irony is that Raducanu, the former Grand Slam champion, might actually enter this tournament with slightly less explicit pressure to win the title compared to her U.S. Open days, simply because players like Eala are currently dominating the form guides. In a strange twist of fate, slipping slightly in the rankings might provide Emma with the emotional oxygen she desperately needs to play freely. The juxtaposition of these two athletes provides a phenomenal narrative for the sport. It reminds us why we watch tennis. We watch for the raw, unscripted drama. We watch to see human beings pushed to the absolute limits of their physical and emotional endurance. We watch to witness history being made. Eala surging past Emma Raducanu is not a condemnation of Emma's abilities. It is a glorious celebration of Eala's phenomenal work ethic and undeniable talent. It proves that in the meritocracy of professional sports, you cannot rest on past achievements. The tour moves fast, and if you are not constantly evolving, constantly improving, and constantly fighting, a hungry 21-year-old from the Philippines will come along and take your spot. As we wrap up this deep dive, the implications of this moment are clear. We are entering a new chapter. The hierarchy has been disrupted. Nobody saw Eala coming this fast, and nobody expected her to ascend to these heights before Emma Raducanu could solidify her own standing. But she is here now, and she is not going anywhere. The WTA Tour is officially on notice. The girl from the Philippines has arrived. She has conquered the grass, and she has taken her rightful place among the elite. We want to hear from you. This is a monumental shift in the sporting landscape, and the debate is only just beginning. Do you believe Eala has the complete game to win Wimbledon this year? Can she maintain this unbelievable momentum and push into the top 10 by the end of the season? And what about Emma Raducanu? Do you think the British star will use his drop in the rankings as the ultimate motivation to rediscover her Grand Slam winning magic, or will the physical toll of the tour continue to hamper her undeniable potential? The beauty of tennis is that the answers will be decided on the court in real time over the coming weeks. Thank you for joining us for this comprehensive, deep dive analysis. We will be tracking every serve, every volley, and every storyline as the grass court season reaches its climax at Wimbledon. Be sure to stay tuned, stay engaged, and prepare yourselves for what promises to be an absolutely unforgettable fortnight of professional tennis.